The Dilemma of Divine Testing and Suffering in Relation to Domestic Violence. This case study on the question of divine testing and suffering due to domestic violence is from the book titled Muslim Women, Domestic Violence and Psychotherapy, Theological and Clinical Issues by Nazila Isgandarova, published by Routledge in 2018. Asma's Wondering of Divine Testing and Suffering. Asma is a 25-year-old born in Azerbaijan, with Azeri being her first language. She resided in Turkey for 5 years, where she followed the Hanafi school of jurisprudence. She immigrated to Canada as a 21-year-old and always dreamed of getting a university education in Canada. She is the fifth of 5 siblings, having 1 brother and 3 sisters. She reported that being a younger child in her family had always been a roadblock, and she had to give up her dreams for the sake of her older sisters because her parents demanded that she do the cleaning and household chores since her sisters were not available to help. Asma married her husband when she was 17 years old in order to escape her family duties. She had 2 children in this marriage. Asma's marriage was one of the violent ones. Each time her husband showed her his anger, she would pray to God to save her life. She resisted getting help, hoping that one day he would improve. She felt immense pressure of social expectations when she wanted to divorce her husband. Some family members told her to be a better wife, not to do anything wrong, and that they did not want gossip to reach the extended family. So instead of considering divorce, she tried to pray harder than she used to. She hoped that it would save her marriage. She thought that a good wife never divorces her husband. She had a secular marriage and kabeen, religious marriage, at the same time. For the most part, Asma's only confidant was her sister in Turkey, who advised her to be patient, to trust in God, and to accept her fate for the sake of her children. Gradually, she learned to show rida, willingness to accept, of God's divine writ, qadr, and discover hikmah, divine wisdom, behind her musibah, evil afflictions and disasters that cause pain, suffering, agony, anguish. She also learned that sometimes these tests might be rare chances to change qada, our destiny. She thought that reflecting on her miseries might help her to be aware of her weaker qualities that might cause a test by God and improve them in order to change her qada. The intensive cycle of verbal, emotional, spiritual, and physical abuse caused Asma to develop emotional problems that manifested themselves as anxiety, panic attacks, and insomnia. As a coping strategy, she tried to read the Quran at night, especially when her husband mistreated her, but the abuse interfered with her ability to concentrate. In desperation, Asma prayed for God's guidance. She believed that God was preparing her for something and hoped that there would eventually be some wisdom in this misery. She reminded herself that patience is a virtue, but deep in her heart she was afraid of losing faith and hope. Asma reported that she escaped to the books of prominent religious leaders. She hoped that her patience in response to her husband's violence would elevate her status, and she would be part of the group of steadfast people who show patience for the sake of God and convinced that everything comes from God. Psychotherapy sessions with Muslim caregivers helped her strengthen her faith and improve her character as a Muslim. She learned how a strong faith made her resilient, with a deep belief that God might test humans in different stages of their lives. However, she still struggled to find an answer to the question of whether her experience of domestic violence was part of testing her faith. She wanted to know whether her test was due to God's anger towards her or due to his love. After hearing Asma's story discuss her suffering in the context of Islamic theology, especially in relation to God's power, human freedom of will, divine omnipotence, divine justice / divine omnibenevolence, adl, and divine destiny such as ajal, the appointed time of death, and risku, sustenance. Discuss how the insights from the major theological schools of Islam, the Mu'tazila, the Ash'ari, the Maturidi, and the Hanbali, also known as the traditionalists, might help you understand Asma's problem in Islamic psychotherapy along with the social sciences. Please also let us know how you would help Asma handle her dilemma of divine testing and suffering due to domestic violence. For more information, please refer to Muslim Women, Domestic Violence and Psychotherapy, Theological and Clinical Issues by Nazila Isgandarova, published by Routledge in 2018 in New York.